Hi there, crafty friends. Welcome and thank you for joining me. My name is Melissa, and today I thought we would make this super cute Valentine's Day card. I have a couple little ones in my life that I still needed a card for, and this was really easy and it just came out so cute. We will be using the Sunny Studio Bighearted Bears stamp set. This stamp set has a whole bunch of images, and I want to bring this back in the future, and we will use the little bear with the mailbox in a different card someday, because this set does not necessarily have to be used for Valentine's Day. So let's go ahead and get started. First, we need to stencil our background. And for my stencil, I've got the Bokeh heart stencil from Waffle flower. And at first, I thought that this was way too many hearts. But you know what? I think it works. In the end, I really think it works. It just looks really cute. Now, this stencil, if you line it up with the grid marks on the stencil, it does have a little offset with the hearts. They're kind of slanted. They're not going straight up and down, which is what I wanted. So I'm just going to adjust the stencil to the way that I prefer. I've got that on my sticky mat because you can't do anything anymore without a sticky mat. They are so versatile. So we're just going to go ahead and get that on there. And then I am bringing in my favorite red. This is Cherry Cobbler from Stampin' Up. I have tried a lot of different reds in the past, and this is my absolute favorite red. It is a very dark, deep red, and it is just my favorite. So we are going to make a mess here, and when I say we are going to make a mess, we really are. This red is very dark, and it does make a mess. That's all I have to say. We're going to use quite a bit of ink here because I want those hearts really dark. So we're just going to go ahead and stencil. I started with 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I will have everything that I've used listed in the description. If you have not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. I am on a mission to try to increase my subscribers, so that would really help me. And we are almost done here. I just want to make sure that it's nice and dark. All right, I think that's probably pretty good. We can go ahead and set this ink aside before I make an even bigger mess. Let's bring in our towel because we need to clean this stencil immediately. So let's get this off of there. We will use this stencil again, so we need to clean it. We're going to take this off of our sticky mat, and we actually need to heat set this with our heat tool. Because the red ink, I'm not sure what it is, the formula in it, but I've noticed a lot of dark colors like the dark reds and the dark blues. They take a little bit longer to dry, so if you just go ahead and heat set it with your heat tool, you will get a nice finish that will not smudge. So I'm going to go ahead and do that after I clean my stencil. And I'm just using some alcohol. I'll just squirt a little bit of alcohol on there and clean that off. I've got my panel all heat set. I cleaned my stencil. Now we need to move on to our little heart with the bear. So I've got my little bear all set up in my Misty here. And what I did was I pre-cut my heart here. I'm using my infinity dies, the heart dies from Hero Arts. I'm using 2 sizes that match up, one a little bit bigger than the other one. So we're going to take that smaller one and I die cut a heart. We're just going to place that up in the corner of the Misty. I've already got my little bear ready to be stamped, and we are going to heat emboss him. When I heat emboss in black, I like to use Versafine because it is a pigment ink It stays a little bit wet for a short time, and that way your embossing powder will stick to it. So let's go ahead and get him inked up. We may need to do this once or twice, maybe 3 times. Actually, just once looks pretty good. But we'll do it twice just because we can. And then we can put some powder on that. And then we can heat set our little bear. As soon as that powder turns shiny, it's done, and now we can move on. So what we're going to do next is we are going to bring back in our sticky mat, and we need to add some little hearts to this guy. So we're going to bring back in our stencil, and I found a nice little area over here with 3 hearts that I want on here. So we're just going to kind of move it around until we find good placement. And I think that's good. We can make sure that sticks. And then we need to bring in some masking tape because we don't want to get red where we don't want it. So just 1 piece of masking tape there. Then we will bring back in our ink. And I want to make sure that my little hearts are nice and dark here. So I've tried lots of different reds over my card making past, and I really like this cherry cobbler the best. None of the reds seem to get very dark, but this cherry cobbler does, and I just love it. So there we've got 3 little hearts. Let's add a few more, but first we need to clean that stencil because we don't want to get ink where we don't want it. So just a little squirt of alcohol and we'll give that a rub. And then we can bring this back in here. You know what? I'm thinking that we might want to hit this with the heat gun real quick just to dry the hearts that we already did. Just like that. It doesn't take much. And then we can come back over here on this side and we can add 2 more hearts. And don't forget to mask that off, just so we don't get ink where we don't want it. We will ink up those other 2 hearts and move on. See, this is coming together so quickly. I'm going to clean my stencil and then heat set those other 2 little hearts. So now we can go ahead and color our bear. For coloring, I'm just using my black, and then I've got R29 in my Copics. Simple coloring. And there we go. That simple little bear is all colored, but I want to stamp on the inside of that heart. So I am going to bring my Misty back in, and I've got it already all set up. We're going to put the word love in there. We're just going to place this in there, and it looks like I did it upside down so I could get it nice and centered. We're just going to put that in there, and what I used here was I just went ahead and used my Gina K. I didn't use the pigment ink because I didn't want to have to wait for it to dry. So we're just going to stamp the word love a couple times in there. And that will look perfect. And there we go. We're all ready to put our card together. Well, almost. So now what we need to do is we need to trim out our panel and our layering piece behind the hearts. I took a piece of gold cardstock, and this piece, I cut it to layer my rectangle frame here after I cut this out. Then I cut my heart out of the middle of my layering piece because nobody will ever see that. So that's going to be my layering piece for there. Let me get this piece die cut, and we're just going to place our rectangle on there and find an area that we like best. I've got our panel all trimmed out. So now we can go ahead and add this to our foil. And I am going to use some double-sided tape so I can make sure that I get this positioned perfectly. So I've got my double-sided tape on the back of there, and I folded back each corner. And this way I can take my panel, I can look over it, I can get that centered nice and perfect. Then I will push down on the corners. Then I can pull out my release tape, and my panel is centered perfectly on my foil. I don't like to use liquid glue when I adhere items to foil, because if it does happen to seep out, I don't want it to ruin that foil. I don't want it to smear on that foil. A lot of times you can just wipe it off if it's paper to paper, but if it's on foil, it just never comes clean and it never looks good. So we're just going to go ahead and add some double-sided tape to our little bear heart here, and then we can get him added to our foil piece. And I think that's pretty good. That's perfect. He's on there. So let's go ahead and get him now on our panel. And this is where I am going to use some foam strips because I want some dimension. We're not going to be using any jewels or gems on this because I am giving this to little ones that are under 4. And I don't want the little gems to come off and them possibly eat them. You know, little kids like to put everything in their mouth, and I would hate for one of them to eat a gem. So we're not going to use any gems or jewels in this card, just paper. I've got my little heart all ready, but we also need to bring in our sentiment. And then I've got a whole bunch of little hearts here that I die cut, and I put foam strip on the back. We will be using those because, like I said, we're not using any gems or jewels. So let's kind of figure out where we want this. I think if we put our sentiment down there, that should probably be pretty good. Let's make sure we've got it spaced nicely. So we'll go ahead and stick that down, and then we can stick down our sentiment. Our sentiment, I white heat embossed on black paper. Let's get that right about there. And then we can bring in, you know what, let's do our foam first. Let's get this on our card base. So I am going to use a piece of foam underneath this for a little bit of dimension. We've got foam on the back of our panel. We're ready to put our panel onto our card base. Just like that. I think that's centered. Yes, that looks good. We can press that down. And then we can bring in all these little hearts. So I die cut with the very smallest heart, a whole bunch of red and a whole bunch of gold. And we are just going to pick these up and get that release paper off of there, and we can embellish with our little hearts here. And we're just going to scatter those all over. I think maybe just one or two more red and gold hearts. I'm just trying to look and see where I already have them and where I should put a couple more, just so we give a little bit more dimension and interest to the card. So I've got several already on there. Let's see. How about another gold one up there? And then maybe one more gold right down here. I think that's cute. Perfect. And then we are going to bring in our glossy accents because I didn't want to put gems on here, but I still want a little bit of interest. I am going to use my glossy accents on all of the red hearts that are popped up. The little ones that we just added. So just put a little bit of glossy accents on that heart, and then just take your pokey tool or a toothpick or anything that you've got handy and just kind of move that glossy accents around so it covers the whole heart. I think I got all of those. And there you have it. Just like that, we have a cute, cute little card for someone special in our life. And once those glossy accents are dry, it is so cute. They really add a lot of shine and dimension to our card. So that's our sample. I'm not sure which one I like better. My sample I did with the cherry cobbler layering piece, and for the one that we just did today, I have the gold. I think I like the gold better. That is so cute. And then I've also got another one here that I did in pinks and silver foil. And this is so cute, but it doesn't have to be a Valentine's Day card. This would be perfect for a baby shower. All you need to do is change out the sentiment to say, welcome little one, or congratulations, or something like that. And then also don't forget, sometimes simple is just really nice. So here I just took the bear with the balloons, stamped him on there, colored him, added my sentiment with a little splatter, and that is so easy, but it is still so cute. So those are our cards for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.